right, there's this very interesting article on VentureBeat about the acquisition of FoxNext by Scopely and how it's done correctly. And as we read this article together, I want to keep in mind these couple sentences right here. Loeb said, one of the things that defines the culture is humility. The culture starts by hiring some of the smartest people you can find who are also really humble. So we want to keep that in mind as we read this together, that this is the humility article and how humble they are and that they're hiring the smartest people. Sarcasm alert and salt alert incoming. Oh my God, right? All right, let's go to the top and read it. How Scopely tries to do game acquisitions the right way. Big game companies could probably use a manual for acquiring other studio firms at a time when such acquisitions have reached an all-time record. In the first quarter, the money for acquisitions, public and offerings investments at $3.9 billion, more than $33 billion all of last year, according to Invest Games. So it seems timely for the whole game industry to step back and think about the right way to do acquisitions. They're going to tell us how the right way to do things here in this article. We had a couple executives from the mobile game publisher Scopely talk about this subject at a recent GamesBeat Summit in 2021. So, Nick, I don't know how to say your last name, but Nick, the managing director of Lion Tree and co-founder of Griffin Gaming Partners, moderated the session with Tim O'Brien, chief revenue officer at Scopely, Amir Rahimi, president of Games of Scopely. You know, keep in mind, he is a FoxNext guy. I'm not sure about Tim O'Brien, but I know Amir. I've met this person several times. President of Games at Scopely also reviewed Aaron Loeb's chief business officer at Scopely about the company's cultures that enables acquisitions to succeed. So stay with me on this. In the conversation, we extracted some of the lessons that all companies could use in making mergers work and distilling the right culture for game companies. Rahimi became a part of Scopely because Rahimi was a part of FoxNext, and he basically got promoted to somebody big inside of Scopely. After a Los Angeles company acquired FoxNext Game, the game division internet company Fox. Disney acquired Fox. Yeah, Disney acquired like all of Fox Studios, which was a lot of things. And one of those small pieces happened to be FoxNext Game. Disney has for a long time did not want to be in the development. They are in for licensing. They just really like to license. And then chose to spin out of its gaming division. That deal in January 2020 was the end of a long journey for Rahimi, who is a part of TabZen. The studio started in 2013, was first acquired by Kabam in 2015, making mobile games. It was the first of 6 transactions Rahimi was part of over 7 years of the studio. It was passed over from owner to owner. That's right. Kabam was purchased by Netmarble, but Netmarble didn't want all of it, so some of it became Aftershock. Then Aftershock became FoxNext, and then FoxNext became a part of Disney, and then it became part of Scopely. I mean, it's moved a bunch. It's been much. Okay. So Marvel Strike goes first. So there's the 3 guys right there. That involved the process with twists and turns and drama. Rahimi said during the session, Rahimi Studio in Los Angeles had managed to launch Marvel Strike Force, a free-to-play fighting game in 2018. And in 2020, under Scopely's ownership, Marvel Strike Force hit its revenues for more than $300 million. Now, I follow Sensor Tower, and Sensor Tower does not have exact numbers. This number surprised me because I was seeing numbers in the 20 millions at the most. And so I would have thought this number would have been closer to 240 million. But if they say that they hit 300 million, I got to take their word for it. Then maybe the Sensor Tower numbers are grossly understated. I don't know. It was a big hit, and behavior became a big hit after a Scopely deal. What's amazing about that, the result that the growth happened during a lockdown, I disagree. The growth happened because of COVID and the lockdown. Do you know how many people started playing Marvel Strike Force? Do you know how many people showed up on Twitch because of the lockdown? Everybody had nothing to do, man. The growth happened because of the lockdown, not they overcame it. No, they got to give credit to it's like Amazon stock went through the roof because of the lockdown. Not, oh, we overcame the lockdown. Come on. What's amazing, or the result growth happened during a lockdown, and as Scopely was integrating FoxNext and the company, Taz Bryan was heavily involved with an executive on the buying side. Now, they could say that they had a lot of challenges because their business wasn't really designed to be remote, and I think they failed miserably at that. We've had bugs on bugs on bugs on bugs, and they had growth because of the lockdown, I think is an accurate assessment of what actually happened. They're sort of anti-remote work, I agree. Shelter in place hit, I was terrified, and then was subsequently blown away by how well the team rallied and stayed focused and productive, Rahimi said. The deal closed in February, right before everything shut down. In terms of the transition from Disney Scopely, it was a model for how to do M&A. Yeah, if you're on the receiving end of an acquisition and you get promoted and get paid a lot more money and they don't tell you how to do your job, you will be thrilled. You will be thrilled. I promise you, you'll be thrilled. If a company took over my job and they promoted me and paid me a lot more money, what am I going to say? Nothing but nice things. Took about 8 months for the deal to get done. Rahimi said his team spent a lot of time getting to know O'Brien, the folks at Scopely. They knew their visions for the future were aligned. They created the optimal conditions for us to thrive. They paid me more money, and they didn't fire me. Thank you for not firing me. Thank you for paying me more money. Thank you for promoting me. So yes, it's the best thing ever. We talked about how we could power up my studio. O'Brien said the whole plan to have gatherings and dinners was no longer possible in the pandemic, but the company had to make a lot of decisions to put their team members first, he said. So I want to tell you, the article's going to talk about this, but I know this. I've been saying this. Everybody said Scopely ruining Marvel Strike Force. My understanding of this transition has always been Scopely spent a bunch of money on Marvel Strike Force, and they were very hands-off. In fact, they actually pulled people out of Marvel Strike Force to go salvage like Looney Tunes game. They actually kind of left them alone. And everybody says, well, Scopely's ruining Marvel Strike Force. I was just like, man, this is the same people doing the same stuff. As far as I'm concerned, from what I could see, Marvel Strike Force was completely left alone after the acquisition of Scopely. That was my perception from the outside on how things went down. One of the things that Rahimi liked at Scopely, where Rahimi gave studio creative freedom to make the right decisions for the Marvel Strike Force and other games. There's an upcoming Avatar title, which is still not out. Rahimi said Scopely leaders understood the team was functioning well and it needed support rather than a change in direction. I personally feel more empowered at Scopely than I have anywhere, Rahimi said. It allows me to empower my people that benefits everyone. Unfortunately, there are companies that approach M&A in a very different way. They make changes in leaders or modify concepts and swap out intellectual properties, and that proves to be disruptive. Some people might say that Scopely needs to step in to change things. I'm just saying, maybe some heads need to roll over at FoxNext because things are not going well with the game. There are certain people that think maybe Scopely should step up to the plate and get more involved because things are going in a weird direction. I'm just saying, I think there's people that have a completely different point of view on this. Can't do that, Rahimi said. The way you need to approach a team, especially a team that's already successful, humble. Remember, this is the humble article. It's really understanding that they do well, really understanding what you can bring to the table, and forming a partnership that is based on trust and transparency and candor, and accelerating the growth after the acquisition. The team went for it, and those decisions paid off, Rahimi said. Scopely did know where it had to make investments, and that was in marketing acquisitions in New York, not QA. Scopely, we need QA. It's great that you gave marketing and acquiring new. We need QA. Send us some of those people. We need QA. Lub Senator fires her chat. And knew that it had to do this in order to capture the players for the long term. Scopely applied its talent in user acquisition, something it handles through its central technology services, and that really paid off, Rahimi said. That helped the game find new audiences around the globe. Brian said that the combination of the two companies led to growth acceleration for the game and all for the game's key performance indicators, such how often players will play the game in the next week. Scopely's also added a lot of the FoxNext game team members into leadership positions at Scopely. That's right. A lot of people at FoxNext got promoted and moved up into the Scopely world. And we knew we could learn as much from them as they could learn from us. I do agree with this. We're going to get to that. We're going to keep going. Let's keep going. One of the new leaders of Scopely is Aaron Loeb, a chief business officer. He was the president of FoxNext Game before the acquisition. I also spoke with Loeb in a game session at GamesBeat Summit in 2021 about how Scopely is gathering its learnings into what it calls the Scopely operating system. SOS is the acronym. about Scopely gathering its learning in what it calls the Scopely operating system, SOS. Well, that's a bad title to acronyms. SOS. Oh my God. It's really more about all the process and culture at Scopely. It's all in the service of becoming a definitive free-to-play game company, Loeb said. Our tools, our technology, everything built around enabling the vision of the game team to go and do what they are saying to do, grow the game based on their vision. Scopely said, Scopely is really focused on the core problem set of making a great game, which is going in and finding the right talent, the right leadership, people with a vision for what they want, and then supporting them with both the right technology, but also the right resources to go out and actually chase that vision. So again, humble. But keep in mind, let's be realistic about this game. Marvel Strike Force is a clone of many other games. Brilliant. They copied some other person's game. Brilliant. Brilliant. It's so innovative. It's brilliant. They copied another game and put the Marvel stamp on it. Spamp. Near exact copy clone of Galaxy of Heroes. And they made it sound way better than that. Why could they just say, we just cloned somebody else's game? They didn't say that. I don't know. Loeb said that Scopely had a game that was lost in the wilderness. And this is, I'm going to interpret this sentence. Loeb said that Scopely had a game that was lost in the wilderness. He decided to restart that effort, reconstitute the vision. They introduced red stars to Looney Tunes game, and it saved the game by introducing the laziest, greediest mechanic in the history of all mobile games, and they're bragging about it. They're bragging about it. They're bragging about it. That's what happened. They got red stars at the Looney Tunes game. It's saved. Pushed through the dark hours with a soul when it looked like they couldn't make it. The game is now one of our biggest hits. They got red stars over there. They got red stars. Loeb said, one of the things that defines the culture is humility. Remember, this is the humility article. Culture is starting with hiring the smartest people you can find. They'll tell you all about it. Are also really humble. Now, I just want to say this. I personally, there's lots of definitions of humble, but for me, the word humble means teachable. And I actually think he talks about that. And I really do like this part of the article. It's not all salt here all the time. Because I do think, for me, humble means that I'm willing to learn things. Because if you know everything, then you're not humble, right? But if you're humble, you're willing to learn, right? So I kind of like that. So I'll just say I do like this part of the article. A culture is a learning culture. We have to talk about the company as a learning machine. The lesson for that for other companies, it's easy to fall into a pattern of operating with blinders on, with a focus on execution. But Loeb believes it's important to question the pattern, has a desire for learning new ways of thinking. It turns out the way of thinking at the company is good for players too. It leads to changes in the experience for gamers, even in the areas that were previously thought as solved problems. Our people are incredibly dedicated to challenging their own assumptions, Loeb said. We are skeptical of our opinions, particularly our own, and I think what is really critical factor is building a great learning culture. Oh. We need some playtest. We need QA. Can you put out a patch and have somebody look at it for 30 minutes before it goes live, please? Before you go and brag about how awesome you are, can you at least do that first? That's all I'm trying to say. QA team, look at the patch for 30 minutes before you push it out, and then you can brag all you want. But it's a failure if you don't do that. Let me know what you think in the comment section.